Start.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. No matter what time zone you're in, welcome back to Sip&Talk. I'm Sunny.
Morning, everyone. I'm Joe.
So we really need to talk about a video format that has, it's completely taken over international social feeds lately.
Oh, totally. I guarantee anyone scrolling this week has seen some variation of this exact video.
Right. So picture this. A tourist is visiting Taiwan, just walking down the street, and they casually toss their trash right onto the pavement.
Just right on the ground.
Yeah, right on the ground. And a local resident spots this, walks over, and very politely corrects them. Just a standard, excuse me, you can't throw your garbage there.
Which is, that's a completely normal public decency interaction.
Yeah.
It happens a million times a day in any major city.
It does. But the reaction is what makes this so wild. In a fraction of a second, the tourist whips out their phone, hits record, points the camera at their own face, and just starts screaming to their followers.
Like full volume.
Exactly, screaming. Family. Who understands this? The Taiwanese are discriminating against us mainlanders again.
From a tech perspective, it is the absolute ultimate traffic formula. Honestly, from an engagement standpoint, it's almost impressive how fast that escalation happens.
It's less than a second.
Right. We're talking about a basic matter of municipal littering getting weaponized into this massive political nationalistic grievance in under 2 seconds. And that is exactly our mission for this Sip and Talk. We are going to completely decode this phenomenon.
Because we aren't here to just, list off bad tourist behaviors.
No, that's easy and, frankly, pretty lazy. Instead, we're doing some serious mental gymnastics today. We want to unpack the cognitive dissonance, the underlying victim mentality, and
here's where the psychology gets truly bizarre.
Yeah, the hilarious new trend of these exact same tourists adopting fake identities just to survive the international backlash that they helped create.
Oh, the fake identities part is just incredible. But really quickly, just to set the ground rules for all our Sip and Talkers tuning in today, our discussion is based entirely on objective, factual, international reporting.
Right. Established psychological frameworks.
Exactly. There is absolutely no discrimination or criticism of any specific group intended here. This is purely a critical thinking exercise about human behavior, cultural collision, and how our social media amplifies it all.
Perfect. So before we get into the heavy psychological profiling, I want to kind of push back on the standard narrative here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because when people see these videos, the immediate reaction is usually just, wow, these people are unbelievably arrogant and they just have terrible manners.
Right. It's just easy to label it as bad behavior.
But I feel like stopping there is way too simplistic. We see people act out in public all the time. If someone cuts you off in traffic here in the States, they might flip you off. That's just arrogance.
Sure.
So why do we need to dive into complex sociology to explain someone refusing to pick up their trash? Isn't it just bad behavior?
I get that. That is the trick, though. It looks like simple bad behavior, but the sociological hardware running underneath is completely different.
What do you mean by hardware?
Well, what we are actually watching in these viral clips is a real-time manifestation of something called compressed modernization.
Wait, let me stop you there, because compressed modernization sounds like, I know, they just got rich too fast. Like a sudden wealth syndrome where someone wins the lottery and suddenly thinks the rules don't apply to them because they can just buy their way out of it.
Money is part of it, definitely, but it goes so much deeper into how human beings relate to each other in a physical space.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Think about the timeline. In the span of just about 40 years, you have hundreds of millions of people thrust from a heavily rural acquaintance society directly into a hyper-modern stranger society.
Acquaintance society.
Yeah.
Meaning literally everyone knows everyone.
Exactly that. In an acquaintance society, your rules, your order, your reputation, they are entirely based on your family network and maintaining face within your physical village.
All right, so if you steal from your neighbor, your whole family's ruined.
Exactly. But the catch is the rules only apply within that specific web of relationships. If you don't know the person, the rules kind of evaporate. Now, thrust those same cultural norms into a stranger society.
Which is what modern international travel is.
Exactly. A stranger society operates entirely on civic law, objective rules, and respecting public boundaries with people you will literally never see again in your life.
I see. So it's literally like upgrading an entire nation's hardware straight to 5G overnight, but their civic operating system is still running on MS-DOS.
Oh, that is a phenomenal analogy.
Right. The software just doesn't have the code to process a public boundary with a total stranger. It just computes as, does this person have power over me? No. then I can do whatever I want.
That's exactly it. And when you add that sudden wealth you mentioned earlier to that old MS-DOS software, you get this massive complication. The consumer is God delusion.
The consumer is God. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, the internal logic twists into this idea of, I paid for this trip, I am stimulating your local economy, therefore my purchasing power completely overrides your petty municipal public order.
So they conflate being a consumer with having, like, civic immunity.
Precisely. When a local tells them to stop spitting on the sidewalk or, to stop hoarding food at a buffet in Japan, they don't hear a civic request.
What do they hear?
They hear a lowly service worker disrespecting a VIP client.
Okay, I buy the operating system lag. That makes total sense. But that brings us to a massive point of friction for me.
Which is?
If this is just a cultural misunderstanding about how public spaces work, why is the immediate knee-jerk reaction to jump straight to, you are a racist and you are discriminating against me?
Because it's a massive...
Oh, I love this. I know cognitive dissonance is like a super popular buzzword in the tech world right now, but walk us through the actual study. I want the listeners to really feel the mechanics of this.
Okay, so Sip&Talkers, I want you to actively imagine this scenario. Picture yourself volunteering for a psychological study. You go into a lab and a researcher in a white coat makes you do a mind-numbingly boring task.
Like what?
We're talking turning wooden pegs on a board over and over for a solid hour.
Oh, man. Soul-crushing boredom.
Aggressively, painfully tedious. So you finish, and then the researcher says, hey, the next participant is in the waiting room. Could you do me a huge favor? Go out there and lie to them. Tell them this task was incredibly fun and exciting.
Okay, so they want you to lie.
Right. But here is the twist. They split the participants into two groups. Group A is paid $20 to lie.
And in 1959, $20 was a serious payday.
Huge payday. Now, Group B is paid exactly $1 to lie.
$1. Okay.
Right. So afterwards, the researchers pull everyone aside privately and ask, okay, but seriously, how much did you actually enjoy turning the pegs?
Well, common sense tells you that people who got paid $20 would rate it higher, right? Because they're in the better mood. They got a good payday.
You would completely think that. But the $20 group was totally honest. They said, the task was awful. I hated it.
Really? Well,
because their internal narrative was completely intact. They knew they lied, but they had $20 to justify it. Their brain said, I lied for a good payday. I am still a rational, normal person.
that makes sense. But what about the $1 group?
Imagine being them. You are an honest, smart person, but you just lied your face off to a total stranger for a single measly dollar.
Oh, wow. That makes you look incredibly cheap and foolish to yourself.
Exactly. The friction between I am a smart, honest person and I just sold my absolute integrity for $1. It's unbearable.
The cognitive dissonance.
Yes. The brain absolutely hates that friction. It feels like a literal physical threat to the ego. And since you cannot go back in time and change the fact that you lied, your brain has to resolve the dissonance another way.
How?
To protect their self-esteem, the $1 group subconsciously rewrote reality. They actually convinced themselves that the boring task was fun.
Wait, really? They actually started believing it.
They completely changed their own internal belief just to justify the embarrassing behavior.
Wow. Okay, so let's map that directly onto our tourist with the trash. You have a tourist standing on a street in Taiwan, or maybe harassing the deer in Japan, whatever it is.
All right.
They are holding two conflicting beliefs simultaneously. Belief A is, I am a wealthy, civilized citizen of a rising global superpower, and I demand respect.
And belief B?
Belief B is, I just got caught throwing my garbage on the street like a toddler.
The dissonance is massive.
It's a complete system crash. Admitting fault right there completely shatters that superpower citizen self-image. The ego just can't handle it.
Yeah.
So what is the easiest, cheapest way for the brain to resolve that friction? You rewrite reality exactly like the $1 group. You say, I didn't do anything wrong. The rules are wrong. The person correcting me is a racist who is targeting me.
It's brilliant in a twisted way. It instantly neutralizes the shame and flips the script.
Completely flips it.
And it does way more than just neutralize shame. It actually provides incredible secondary gains. This victim mentality is highly, highly rewarding.
How so?
By playing the discrimination card, they dodge personal responsibility, they demand instant sympathy from anyone watching, and they achieve the sudden moral superiority. It effectively bullies the locals into silence.
Right, because nobody wants to be accused of a hate crime over a candy wrapper.
Exactly.
Okay, I totally get why one embarrassed tourist might lie to protect their fragile ego. The individual psychology tracks perfectly. But that doesn't explain the scale of this.
What do you mean?
Well, it doesn't explain why thousands of people across the globe are using the exact same script. Discrimination is a very specific concept to reach for. How does this become a synchronized international phenomenon?
You are hitting on the macro narrative now. Individual cognitive dissonance needs fuel to operate uniformly on a global scale like that.
And what's the fuel?
That fuel comes from the intersection of state-driven nationalism and a very specific historical framing. In the background of all these interactions is an education system that heavily emphasizes the century of humiliation.
Okay, right.
This is a foundational narrative that constantly reminds citizens of historical grievances, foreign exploitation, and the idea that the outside world is inherently hostile to their rise.
So they are psychologically primed before they even step on the plane.
Highly primed. When that is your baseline civic education, you don't see a local asking you to lower your voice in an art museum as a standard social request.
No, you're primed to see it as a direct, coordinated attack on your national dignity, which perfectly brings in the technology angle. Because when we look at how our social media algorithms work, especially here in the U.S. tech scene, where we literally engineer these engagement engines.
We know exactly what happens next.
We do. The algorithm literally subsidizes the cognitive dissonance. Short video platforms are explicitly designed to reward outrage.
Outrage retains users longer than any other emotion.
By far. If a tourist posts a video saying, "Hey guys, I learned a valuable lesson about local recycling laws today," that gets 0 views. It is dead on arrival.
Literally nobody clicks on personal growth.
Never. But a video titled, "I was violently discriminated against overseas by hostile locals," that is a massive traffic cheat code.
Oh, absolutely.
The algorithm grabs it, AD tests the outrage, and pumps it to millions of users who share that exact same primed nationalistic grievance. Suddenly, the creator gets a flood of algorithmic validation, not to mention ad revenue.
Right, they just successfully converted a shameful moment of bad manners into patriotic, highly monetizable clicks.
It's an entire ecosystem of validation. But we really need to pause and consider the real-world consequence of this cycle.
Yeah.
Because it is basically crying wolf on a geopolitical scale.
It is a really sobering reality.
When you have thousands of videos using the word discrimination as a literal shield for cutting in line at the airport, or like carving your name into the Luxor Temple in Egypt.
Oh, that Luxor Temple incident was insane.
Right. But using the word that way brutally dilutes the power of the word itself. Discrimination is a real violent force in the world.
It absolutely is.
But when it becomes this cheap keyword, just a monetization tool for bad behavior, it exhausts the public's empathy. It makes it incredibly difficult for people facing actual systemic racism to be taken seriously. Because the public just starts rolling their eyes every time they hear the word.
It really does drain the global empathy reserves. It's tragic. But what if we pivot to something a bit more absurd?
Well, please do.
Because there is a breaking point to this whole thing. What happens when the cognitive dissonance gets so extreme and the international pushback gets so intense that the tourist decides they don't actually want to fight the algorithm battle anymore?
Wait, what if they just want a peaceful vacation?
Exactly.
Oh, man. We have to talk about invisible mode. This is my absolute favorite part of this whole bizarre ecosystem because it completely shatters that tough guy narrative.
It is the wildest offshoot we've seen recently. It's been particularly documented in places like Japan and Egypt. You have these ultra-nationalistic tourists, and online, they are absolute warriors.
Yeah, they bash Japan, they bash Taiwan.
They type these furious thousands of words essays about national superiority, but then it comes time to book their annual vacation.
Right.
And they realize that their passport and the loud behavior associated with it might subject them to the very friction we've been talking about.
Right. They want the luxury shopping in Tokyo, but they really don't want the side eye from the barista when they walk into a cafe.
Exactly. So what is the solution? They go completely undercover. They are secretly going online and buying Taiwanese passport covers to hide their actual passport.
No way.
Yes. Or when they are walking around Tokyo and accidentally bump into someone on the train, instead of speaking Mandarin, they immediately bow and say, "Sumimasen," pretending to be Japanese.
That is amazing.
They are actively, deliberately adopting the identities of the very people they insult online just to ensure they get polite service and avoid being lumped in with the problematic tourists.
It's so deeply absurd. It is literally like, okay, imagine you swear up and down online that you absolutely despise your neighbor. You post every single day about how awful he is.
Okay, I'm with you.
But then Saturday night rolls around, and you realize your neighbor is on the VIP list at the most exclusive club in town.
Right.
The second you get to the bouncer, you slap on a fake mustache, point at the neighbor, and say, hey, I'm with him.
The fake mustache analogy is absolutely perfect.
The shamelessness of it is staggering. But from a psychological standpoint, how do they justify this hypocrisy to themselves? Because the cognitive dissonance of hating a group, but then pretending to be them to get better treatment. I mean, that should be fatal to the ego.
Yeah, you would completely think that their brain would just short circuit.
Yeah.
But the human brain is a master of rationalization. Their internal logic twists this deception into a bizarre victory.
Ow.
They go on social media anonymously and tell themselves, this isn't betrayal, this is tactical espionage.
Tactical espionage. You have got to be kidding me.
I'm serious. They say, I'm just using their identity as a tool to get the premium service I deserve. Plus, if the hotel staff treats me better when they think I'm Taiwanese or Japanese, it just scientifically proves that foreigners are hopelessly biased against us.
Wow. That is Olympic-level mental gymnastics right there.
Yeah.
They literally use their own deception to confirm their original victimhood.
Yep.
I lied to them, and they believed me, which proves they are prejudiced. That is insane. But you know what this really highlights? It proves that civic credit is a highly tangible, highly valuable asset.
Elaborate on that. What do you mean by civic credit?
Well, think about nation branding. Places like Taiwan and Japan have spent decades, generations even, building a global reputation for politeness, order, and deep respect for public spaces.
Right. It's baked into the culture.
And that reputation has real-world value. It fundamentally changes how you are treated at international borders, how restaurant staff approach your table, how welcome you feel in a foreign country. These tourists, by putting on that fake mustache and saying sumimasen, they are essentially free-riding on the cultural credit of the very people they spend all their time insulting.
They are literally hacking the trust economy.
Yes. They want the dividends of a high-trust, polite society without having to pay any of the behavioral taxes required to maintain it.
That is exactly it.
They don't want to actually follow the rules. They just want the perks of looking like someone who does.
Which perfectly synthesizes the core clash we are looking at today. What we really have here is the collision of two completely different operating systems.
Right. You have the rules of a modern, law-based stranger society where respect is given based on adherence to public order and mutual consideration.
And that collides head-on with
a fragile, highly politicized macro narrative that tells individuals that they are perpetual victims who deserve special treatment simply because of where they were born.
And when those two systems crash into each other at a buffet line in Tokyo or on a sidewalk in Taiwan, the sparks just fly. And thanks to the engagement algorithms that we built, we all get a front row seat to the psychological fallout.
It is absolutely fascinating, but it's also, a little bleak when you look at the big picture.
It really is.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the human psyche, I want to leave all of you Sip&Talkers with a final provocative thought to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it. We've talked about these invisible tourists, the ones who go undercover to enjoy the perks of polite, rule-abiding societies. Here is my question. When their vacation is finally over, they take off the Taiwanese passport cover. When they return home after tasting the sweet, tangible benefits of a high-trust society, what happens next?
Oh, do they learn from it?
Right. Does the experience plant a seed of civic awareness? Do they secretly become more tolerant of the rules? Or, to overcompensate for the psychological guilt of their secret betrayal, do they log back onto their accounts and become even more aggressive and nationalistic online just to prove their loyalty?
That is a phenomenal question. Honestly, the answer to whether they reform or just double down probably dictates a whole lot of where our global discourse is heading in the next decade.
I think you're right.
And as always, our goal here at Sip&Talk is to foster independent thinking and objective analysis. We want to give you guys the mental tools to look past the viral outrage and see the underlying systems at play.
Absolutely. If you enjoy doing these mental gymnastics with us today, be sure to hit subscribe on this Sip&Talk feed so you never miss a conversation.
Totally.
And before we go, I have to give a massive shout out to our good buddy Mickey. You guys know Mickey. He has a new vlog up on his YouTube channel, Mickey to Life, and it is mandatory viewing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
he is currently traveling through Spain, giving these absolutely hilarious, totally absurd reviews of Antoni Gaudi's architecture. It is incredible.
It really is. I honestly don't think Gaudi ever anticipated Mickey's specific brand of architectural critique, but it is pure gold. It's so funny. So make sure you go check out Mickey to Life. Thank you all so much for tuning in.
Stay curious, everyone. We will see you next time.